To understand why Surah Ash-Sharh was revealed, you have to understand the man it was revealed to. Not the prophet of nations, not the leader of armies, not the figure on the pages of history books. You have to understand the human being, the man who walked the alleys of Makkah alone, the man whose family had abandoned him, the man whose closest companions could be counted on two hands. There was a night when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam sat alone and his chest felt like it was about to break. Not from a wound, not from a battle, from something heavier, something the people of Makkah could not see, could not hear, and could not understand. The insults had piled up, the mockery had grown louder, his own uncles were turning against him, and in the silence of that night, the weight of an entire mission was pressing down on a single human heart. And then the sky opened. Allah did not send an army. He did not send a miracle the people could see. He sent something far more intimate. He sent a surah, and what he said in those few short verses would echo through the chest of every broken believer until the end of time. In the early years of the prophethood, Makkah was not the city of Hajj that we imagine today. It was a city of stone idols, tribal pride, and ancient hatreds. 360 idols sat around the Kaaba, and the Quraysh worshipped them with a devotion that had been passed down for generations. To stand against them was not just to challenge a religion, it was to challenge an entire economy, an entire identity, an entire way of life. And in the middle of all that stood one man. He had no army, no wealth that could rival the chiefs of Quraysh, no tribal coalition behind him. He had a message, and that message was beginning to shake the foundations of everything Makkah was built on. At first, the Quraysh laughed. They thought he was a poet who had lost his way. Then they thought he was a magician, then a madman. But when his followers began to grow, when slaves and noblemen alike started whispering that there is no God but Allah, the laughter stopped and the cruelty began. They threw garbage on his back while he prayed. They placed the entrails of a slaughtered camel on his head while he was in sujud, until his daughter Fatima ran weeping to remove it. They mocked him in the streets. They called him a liar to his face. They turned his own clan against him. They sent their children to throw stones at him, and the man who had once been called Al-Amin, the trustworthy, was now being treated as the most dangerous man in the city. And yet, he kept walking. He kept calling. He kept inviting them to the one who had created them. But there was something the Quraysh could not see, something that no human eye could measure: the pain of carrying revelation. The pain of knowing the truth in a city that hated the truth. The pain of watching the people you grew up with, your cousins, your neighbors, your own uncles, choose stones over their creator. Imagine that for a moment. Imagine watching the people you love walk straight toward the fire and not being able to stop them. Imagine your tongue speaking the most beautiful words ever spoken on earth and the people responding with insults. Imagine being the most truthful man alive and being called a liar every single day. That is the weight that was sitting on the chest of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the believers around him were suffering too. Bilal was being dragged across burning sand with a rock on his chest. Sumayya, the first martyr of Islam, would soon be murdered in front of her son. Yasir would be tortured until his last breath. The new Muslims were being beaten, starved, exiled, and broken. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw all of it. He felt all of it. Every scream, every wound, every tear of every believer. And he could not save them. Not yet. The chest of a prophet is not like the chest of any other man. It carries the burden of his ummah. It carries the weight of a message from above the seven heavens. It carries the silent sorrow of a teacher watching his students suffer for the truth. And in those years, that chest was tightening, closing in, pressing down. until one day Allah himself decided to speak directly to that chest, and what he said is something every broken Muslim needs to hear at least once in their life. The early surahs of Makkah are different. If you read them carefully, you can almost hear the rhythm of a heart that is trying to keep going. They are short, sharp, powerful. They come in waves like medicine being poured into a wound that will not stop bleeding. But before Surah Ash-Sharh was revealed, something specific happened. The Quraysh had taken their cruelty to a new level. They had begun saying things about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that struck at the deepest part of any human being, his honor, his family, his sanity. They said he was abandoned. They said his Lord had forsaken him. They pointed to the gaps between revelations and laughed, saying, "Look, his God has left him." They mocked the fact that he had no son who lived. They mocked his poverty. They mocked his orphanhood. They reached into every wound he had ever carried as a child and pressed their fingers into it. And in those moments, something inside him would tighten, not doubt, never doubt, but sorrow. The deep, quiet sorrow of a man who is being punished for telling the truth. The narrations tell us that there were periods when the revelation paused, when Jibreel did not come for days, when the sky was silent. And in that silence, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would sit, waiting, longing, his heart aching for the voice from above. The Quraysh saw this silence and used it as a weapon. They began to whisper, "His Lord has hated him. His Lord has left him." And every word landed like a stone on his chest. Now imagine being him. Imagine knowing the truth, but having no way to prove it in that moment. Imagine being mocked for the very thing that is your greatest blessing. Imagine the loneliness of standing on a mountain of certainty while an entire city throws sand at your feet. This is the emotional landscape into which Surah Ad-Duha was revealed first. Allah told him, "Your Lord has not abandoned you, nor is he displeased." It was the first wave of comfort, the first hand on the shoulder, the first whisper from the Most High that said, "I am still here." But Allah did not stop there, because comfort is not the same as healing. A wound can be soothed for a moment and still be open underneath. Allah was not just going to comfort his messenger, he was going to heal him. He was going to reach into the chest of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and do something no human hand could ever do. And so, shortly after Surah Ad-Duha came Surah Ash-Sharh. The opening words struck like lightning. Alam Nashrah laka sadrak. Have we not expanded for you your chest? This was not a question Allah was asking because he needed an answer. This was a question that was meant to remind, to wake up, to pull the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam out of the heaviness and back into the truth of who he was. Have we not expanded your chest? Think about that phrase. Allah is not saying we will. He is saying, have we not already? He is reminding his beloved of something that had already happened, something the Quraysh could not see, but Allah himself had done. The scholars have spoken about this expansion in many ways. Some said it referred to the famous incident of his childhood, when angels came to him in the desert, opened his chest and washed his heart with the water of Zamzam. Some said it referred to the spiritual expansion, the widening of his understanding, his patience, his capacity to carry revelation. Some said it referred to both, the physical and the spiritual, the earthly and the divine. But the meaning beneath all of these interpretations is the same. Allah was saying, I have prepared you, I have built you for this. The pressure you feel, I have already given you the strength to carry it. You just don't see it yet. And then, in the very next verse, Allah went deeper. He addressed the burden directly. And we removed from you your burden, the burden which had broken your back. The Arabic word used here is heavy with meaning. It is the word for a load so crushing that it makes a sound, a load so unbearable that the back literally creaks under it. Allah was acknowledging openly that his messenger was carrying something that would have destroyed any other man. And then he said, "We took it off you. Not we will, not we might. We did." But the surah was not finished. There was more. And what came next is the verse that has saved more broken Muslims than perhaps any other verse in the entire Quran. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْأُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْأُسْرِ يُسْرًا. So indeed, with hardship there is ease. Indeed, with hardship there is ease. Twice, Allah said it twice. In the Arabic language, when Allah repeats a phrase, it is never accidental, never decorative. Every repetition carries weight. Every repetition is a hammer striking the heart of the listener until the truth is driven all the way in. And the scholars notice something extraordinary about the structure of these two verses. Something that would change the way Muslims understood their own suffering forever. In Arabic, when a word is mentioned with the definite article, al-usr, the hardship, and then mentioned again with the same definite article, it refers to the same thing, the same hardship. But when a word is mentioned without the definite article, yusra, ease, and then mentioned again without it, it refers to two different things, two different eases. So what Allah was saying in the linguistic miracle of the Arabic itself was this: one hardship will never overcome two eases. Read that again. One hardship, two eases. The hardship in your life is one, but the ease that Allah has prepared for you is at least two. Whatever you are carrying right now, whatever wound is bleeding in your chest, whatever night feels like it will never end, Allah is telling you from above the seven heavens that the ease is already on its way, and not just one ease, more than one. The companions understood this. Ibn Abbas, who was given a deep understanding of the Quran by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ himself, would say with tears in his voice, "One hardship will never defeat two eases." This was not a poetic line, this was a divine law, a promise written into the fabric of the universe. And then notice the word Allah used, ma'a, with, not after, with. If Allah had said after hardship there is ease, it would still be a comfort, but it would mean you have to wait until the storm passes. Allah did not say that. Allah said with the hardship, at the same time, in the same moment, woven into the very fabric of your suffering, there is ease. The ease is not waiting on the other side of your pain. The ease is inside your pain. It is the strength you discover only when you are broken. It is the dua you make only when you are desperate. It is the closeness to Allah that you can only feel when everything else has been stripped away. It is the tears in sujood that wash your soul clean. It is the patience that builds in your chest like steel being forged in fire. The ease is not the absence of hardship. The ease is the gift hidden inside it. And this is the moment in the surah where the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the man who had been carrying the weight of an entire city's hatred, was being told something that no human being had ever been told quite like this before. He was being told that every insult, every stone, every loss, every silent night, all of it was being matched, paired, balanced, and outweighed by an ease that Allah Himself had decreed. The Quraysh thought they were burying him. They were not. They were building him. Every wound was producing patience. Every betrayal was producing wisdom. Every night of loneliness was producing a closeness with Allah that no king, no emperor, no scholar could ever match. And in that moment, the chest that had been tightening began to open. Not because the suffering had stopped. The suffering had not stopped. The Quraysh would continue. The torture would continue. The boycott was still coming. The death of Khadija, the death of Abu Talib, the year of sorrow, all of that was still ahead. But something inside him had shifted. Because when Allah Himself tells you that the ease is with the hardship, you stop running from the hardship. You start walking into it. You start carrying it the way a soldier carries a sword, knowing that it cuts you, but knowing that it is also the very thing that will win the war. And then the surah ended with two final commands, two instructions that would shape the rest of the Prophet's life and the rest of ours. So, when you have finished, stand up, and to your Lord turn in hope. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ وَإِلَى رَبِّكَ فَارْغَب. When you finish one task, stand up for the next. When you finish one struggle, turn to your Lord. Do not sit, do not rest in the dunya, do not stop moving toward Him. This was not just advice, this was the rhythm of a prophetic life. A life of constant motion, constant turning, constant returning to Allah. The moment one battle ended, another began. The moment one prayer was finished, another was approaching. The moment one tear dried, another dua was rising. And the lasting effect on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was visible to every companion who walked with him afterward. Aisha radiallahu anha would later describe nights when he would stand in prayer until his feet swelled and cracked. She asked him once gently, "Why do you do this when Allah has already forgiven you?" And he answered with words that have echoed through 14 centuries. "Should I not be a grateful servant?" This is what Surah Ash-Sharh did to him. It did not just heal him, it transformed his relationship with hardship forever. He stopped seeing pain as punishment. He started seeing it as preparation. He stopped asking why the burden was heavy. He started asking how he could be more grateful for the strength to carry it. And the companions began to see this rhythm in their own lives. When Bilal was being crushed under the rock, what kept him alive was not the absence of pain. It was the presence of Allah inside the pain. Ahad, Ahad, one word, one truth, one ease woven into one hardship. When Sumayya was killed, her last moments were not screams of regret. They were the breath of a woman who had already tasted the ease of certainty before her body ever fell. When the Muslims were starving in the boycott of the Sheeb of Abu Talib, eating leaves to survive, it was the rhythm of this surah that kept them upright, with hardship ease, with hardship ease. They whispered it to themselves in the dark. And here is what is so beautiful about how Allah revealed this surah. He did not reveal it after the suffering had ended. He revealed it in the middle of it, while the wounds were still open, while the Quraysh were still mocking, while the future still looked impossible. That is when Allah came close, not after, with. The emotional fallout of this revelation reached far beyond the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. It reached every believer who would ever read these words. It reached the mother who lost her child and could not stop weeping. It reached the young man who could not find work and felt forgotten by the world. It reached the woman trapped in a marriage of silence. It reached the prisoner staring at four walls. It reached the student who failed, the patient who was told there is no cure, the believer who fell into sin and thought there was no way back. All of them, every one of them, were being told by Allah Himself that their hardship was not the end of the story. And maybe the most powerful effect of this surah is what it does to the human idea of time. Before this revelation, suffering felt linear. It felt like a road with no exit. You walk into it, and you walk, and you walk, hoping that one day the road ends. But Surah Ash-Sharh shattered that idea. It said the ease is not at the end of the road. The ease is walking next to you. The ease is in your breath. The ease is in your sujood. The ease is in the verse you just whispered to yourself in the dark. You are not waiting for relief. You are wrapped in it. You just have to open your eyes and see it. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam carried this truth into every battle, every loss, every grave he stood beside, every night he prayed alone. He carried it when his son Ibrahim died in his arms. He carried it when Hamza, his beloved uncle, was killed and mutilated at Uhud. He carried it when his own teeth were broken and his face was bleeding on the battlefield. And every time the surah was there, quiet, steady, a companion in his chest. So why was Surah Ash-Sharh revealed? It was revealed for him. The man whose chest was tightening under a burden no one else could see. The man who needed to hear from his Lord that he had not been abandoned, that the silence was not absence, that the pressure was not punishment, that the load on his back had already been lifted, even when he could still feel the weight of it. But it was also revealed for you, for the version of you that is reading this right now, carrying something you have not told anyone about, the thought you keep alone at night, the wound you hide behind the smile, the dua you keep making year after year that has not yet been answered. Allah saw you when He revealed this surah. He did not just speak to a prophet in the streets of Makkah. He spoke to every soul who would ever feel like the walls were closing in. Every single one of us. And He gave us a surah we can hold on to when there is nothing else to hold. Think about how merciful that is. Allah, the Lord of the heavens and the earth, the one who controls every atom in existence, took the time to address the tightness in a human chest. He did not say, "Be strong." He did not say, "Get over it." He said, "Have we not expanded your chest?" He acknowledged the pain before He removed it. He sat with the wound before He healed it. That is who your Lord is. And the lesson of this surah, the one that should stay with you long after this video ends, is this: your hardship is not proof that Allah has left you. It is often proof that Allah is shaping you. The same way iron is hammered to become a sword, the same way gold is heated to become pure, the same way a seed is buried in the dark before it ever breaks through the soil and reaches the sun. You are not buried, you are planted. And maybe that job loss, that rejection, that illness, that loneliness, that failure that broke you in half, maybe it was the very thing that was meant to expand your chest. Maybe Allah was preparing you for something that the easier version of you could never have carried. The companions who suffered the most became the ones who carried Islam to the ends of the earth. The believers who were boycotted, starved, exiled, they became the foundation of an ummah that would last until the end of time. Their hardship was not a detour. It was the road itself. And here is the part most people miss. The surah did not end with comfort. It ended with a command. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. When you finish, stand up. Allah did not heal His messenger so that he could rest. He healed him so that he could rise. This is the part of the surah for the believer who has been given ease and forgotten where it came from. The believer who got the job, the marriage, the child, the recovery, and then slowly drifted away from the Lord who answered the dua. Allah is telling you, when you finish one thing, stand up for the next. Do not stop. Do not coast. Do not let the comfort of the dunya put your soul to sleep. Turn to your Lord again and again in every season of your life. In hardship, turn to Him. In ease, turn to Him. In silence, turn to Him. In abundance, turn to Him. Because the chest that Allah expanded was not expanded for rest. It was expanded for service, and the same is true for you. Whatever Allah has carried you through, He carried you through it for a reason. Whatever ease He has given you after a long darkness, He gave it to you for a reason. You were not saved just to survive. You were saved to stand up, to rise, to turn back to Him with everything you have left. So the next time your chest tightens, remember this surah. Remember that the ease is not a destination, it is a companion. Remember that Allah does not waste a single tear of a believer. Remember that the same Lord who comforted His Prophet on the loneliest nights of Makkah is the same Lord who is watching over you tonight. He has not abandoned you. He has not forgotten you. He has not left you alone in the dark. He expanded the chest of His beloved, and He can expand yours too. You just have to keep walking, keep turning, keep rising. Because with every hardship, with it, inside it, woven through it, there is an ease that Allah Himself has already prepared for you. And one day, when the dust of this dunya settles, you will look back at the very thing that almost broke you, and you will understand. That was not the end of your story. That was the moment Allah began to expand your chest.